You can pick either one of these or blend your answer. Back to the more personal stuff. What is the most memorable job you've ever had, even counting as a teenager, but outside the sport of football? And if you're not in love with that one, tell us what you think you would be if you were not a football coach. And all you guys can pick either of those or blend them. Anytime you need me to tell them those jokes,
I'm good, I think. I don't know if you all had them here in Oklahoma. I'm from Virginia originally. I used to work at Po Folks restaurant. And was taking out the trash one night and was trying to get the trash can up in the dumpster with a buddy of mine. And the bottom of the trash can broke. So y'all can kind of imagine that trash bag from the kitchen. It was rough. It was rough. When I went home, I told my mom what happened, and she made me strip down in the garage, and it was bad. She wouldn't even bring clothes in the house, but so that was my job, Po Folks. I can't touch that.
I did say memorable, right? That's memorable.
Yeah, mine's a lot better than that. I feel better now. I thought mine was bad. I feel fortunate. My granddad was the winningest high school football coach in Middle Tennessee history, and the stadium's named after him. And he was the superintendent of schools while I was in high school. And at an early age, at like 13, he was in charge of the recreation program for the summer. So I'd go out and cut the grass on the softball, baseball fields, and I'd line them all off and work really, really hard all day in that area. And then I was in Babe Ruth League, so I'd coach a Little League baseball team. And that's probably the best job I've ever had. And then we would go down to the lake, which was 15 minutes away, and camp out, just my granddad and I, and we'd fish at night, fish the next morning, go back to work. So I think that's the best job that I've ever had for sure. Pay wasn't very good, but everything else was good.
Probably for me, it was when I was young and umpire for Little League Baseball. And you learn at a very early age, one, how crazy a fan base can be, even if it's a 12-year-old Little League team. And two, you learn that umpiring is really hard and refereeing is really hard. And maybe as we go through this thing, we should be a little bit easier on those guys. And then I got into coaching, and I basically threw all that out the window. Basically demanded perfection of every referee who's ever been part of any game I've been part of. But that's kind of where it all started for me. It started on the old ball fields.
I painted houses for 7 summers with my high school basketball coach and some buddies. And that was the minimum wage, it was like $4.50. And so the 8th summer, I got this offer to go work at American Wholesale Grocers, which is where you load pallet jacks full of all the groceries that are going to go to Costco's and places like that. And you go in there for training. It's a warehouse. It's probably the size of 10 Costco's and hundreds of rows of groceries in there. And you pick up your list, 97 items, should take you 7 minutes and 37 seconds. And you got your pallet jack, and it's 100 degrees in Kansas City. And so I get trained by a guy who worked there 30 years that couldn't read, but he knew where every single part of that warehouse was, every single thing in there. And at the break, everyone there was on the union. You go in and sit with the truckers, and they also had Leavenworth Prison down the road, and they bring in their work crew every day. And so I learned real quick that I needed to graduate from college, working in that warehouse. And I made $10 an hour. I thought I was rich. By the end of it, I was begging to be on the ladder with a bucket, paint houses again, I can tell you that.
Well, you know, I grew up in North Carolina, and pretty far west. It's about an hour west of Asheville. I don't know if most of you probably didn't know that there was an hour west of Asheville, North Carolina. So that's, you know, right on the Georgia border. And you know, it was a country area, a very rural area. And so when I was growing up, there was a farmer that had his farm, you know, right near my parents' place. I went to work for him in the summers. You know, he top tobacco. We baled hay, and it was, you know, the square bales. You know, back then, so you had to throw them up on the truck and stack them a certain way, or the truck would fall, and you'd put them in the barn and all that stuff. And you know, he wasn't a real compassionate guy either. So, but you know, looking back on that, is, you know, the one thing that he taught me was how to work hard, and what a honest day's labor is. And so I really, probably one of the best things that ever happened to me